I'm gonna start out with raw sienna, raw umber, yellow oxide, cadmium red light, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium yellow light, and some white. And I'll be adding the leaves into this later, so we'll add some greens later. You can literally use any browns and any yellows for this, but this is just what I'm using. I also have a reference photo of a sunflower that I actually made using Adobe Firefly, and it is fabulous. And you know, a lot of artists kind of hate AI, and I totally get it because it steals art, but in terms of reference photos, it's great because you can create a reference photo and you can change it and use it, and you're not stealing anyone's specific photography, especially with a real thing like a sunflower. It's pretty easy to make. So it's not a perfect sunflower, but it'll give me the inspiration that I need. I am gonna start with my filbert brush, and I'm gonna get my paint brush wet, and then I'm going to wipe it on my rag. Always have a rag with you. And I'm just gonna start, I'm gonna put my sunflower like right here. I'm not drawing. I'm gonna take the yellow oxide. So I'm just gonna go around and kind of sketch this. Really light, a light sketch. Okay, so I have the middle established. It's gonna get darker. Make sure that's nice and round. Sunflower middles are really big. I'm gonna grab the brown. I'm gonna mix it with a little bit of raw sienna. And I am just gonna make that middle little dot right here. Okay. I am gonna add this brown right here. I'm just gonna dot that right there. Dot, dot, dot. And I'm just kind of adding this in here. I'm gonna add in a little bit of yellow. And this yellow is kind of transparent. So I'll be going back over that with another color for sure. Cut this part, cut this part. Okay. Same brush, I am going to grab a little of this medium yellow, and I'm actually going to be mixing it with, remove all of these. I'm going to be mixing this because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with a darker yellow than you'd expect. And I'm just going to go in here with almost like a brownish yellow, because this is where my picture is going to look a little bit different from the photo. I'm gonna add some dimension to these petals. So I have kind of an ochre. And again, this is kind of an impressionistic style. So what I do is I just press, pull, and let go again to make those petals. So what I'm doing is I'm take a lot of paint on my brush. So there's lots and lots of paint. I'm gonna make some more of that color actually. And I am going to have a lot of paint. I am going to lightly touch it, press, and pull. And it doesn't matter what direction your strokes go because you are painting something that is wild. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. And I'm gonna do more petals here, so right now they're kind of evenly spaced. It's gonna go off the page a little bit. And that's okay. That's what makes interesting composition. Do that. I might even add some darker petals in the background, because this is going to have a lot of petals. If I want to mix up the brush, I can use a brush like that, and I'm going to grab it. There's another way to do this. If you only have this type of a brush, you kind of just turn it sideways to make those petals, and you have a little bit more control. And I'm trying not to make it too watery, but sometimes this can be watery, depending on the quality of your acrylic. So there's that. Let's think about adding the stem. So I'm gonna add a little bit of, this is I think this is phthalo blue. A little phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is a greenish blue. And then we have ultramarine blue, and that's actually a bluish blue, a warm blue and a cool blue. And you'll find when you mix these with the different yellows, you're gonna get completely different greens. So let's make a nice light green. Mix with a little bit of that just to harmonize it. A little bit of that guy. That's gonna be our light green. Make a darker green. And here's our darker green. Look at that. And if I want a shadow green, I can add just a little bit of brown to that to tone it down. Okay, so let's see, where does that stem start? I'm just gonna kind of establish this. Make a leaf right here. Make a leaf right here. There are going to be other flowers, I think. Well, maybe not, actually. Maybe I'll just do this lonely sunflower. And notice that the stem has dark on one side, light on one side, because the light is hitting it in one place. So my paint's getting a little dry. I'm just going to add a little water to it. I'm just taking this and I'm just going right in here like this. And then here's my stem. I've got a leaf kind of right here. I'm just gonna block that in with this medium green color. And then I'll be adding shadows and highlights on that pretty soon. Same with this one. And leaves are never perfectly straight, so you kind of do these little edges here. It's kind of a muted color. We're gonna let that dry. And don't worry if you get it outside the edges, because we are going to do the background afterwards. There's something that I kind of like to do, but depending on your style. All right, I'm gonna grab some white. Get this light green in here. And grab that. While my leaves dry, I am going to add some highlights to the petals. So I have kind of that dark yellow sienna color, and now I'm gonna get some bright yellow. Yellow can be really transparent, so I find that it helps to mix some white with my yellow, and sometimes you have to do a few layers. So I'm grabbing both yellows, mixing them together. It really doesn't matter what yellow you use according to your preference. You can do whatever you like. And I'm going in here, I'm gonna add a little bit more dark just to kind of round out those edges. Sorry you can't see that, my hand's covering it because I'm a lefty. And now I realize I actually want to work on the middle a little bit. Sorry, I'm backtracking. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those little pokies. That's the the scientific name for the middle of the sunflower, pokies, which is where the sunflower seeds grow. So I'm just going to take my brush and turn it sideways and just make little jagged bumps all the way around the edge of that middle. And then I'm going to go back in with highlights in just a second. So letting those dry a little bit. Sometimes you'll find when you're painting, if you are painting over something that's just a little sticky and tacky, it can peel your paint back up. So now I'm taking a light yellow. This is not, it looks white, but it's not white. It's just kind of a cream color. And I'm kind of dotting it all the way around the middle, but I'm leaving a part that's dark in the middle because it's kind of an indent. If you look at the reference photo, I will have the color list in the description down below, but I also will post the reference photo on my website with information and a list. And if you're a teacher and you want to give this one to your students, or if you're a student and you want to try this, I will have an evaluation form also on my website that you can download for free. So I just kind of softened that up. I just kind of went over that with a damp brush and blobbed it on a little bit while it's damp. And now I'm going to work on the petals. I've got a light yellow, and what I'm doing is I'm just adding highlights to the petals. So I'm just going over the ends of the petals where the sun would hit, and then I'm going to add some more yellow petals there too. And this isn't photorealistic. That's the nice thing about this. It's a little bit impressionistic, so it's okay if you just make the petals wherever, just kind of floating all around. But those highlights are going to really make it pop. And you can make lots of petals, or you can leave a space between the petals. Make sure you're using plenty of paint and a damp brush. So you don't want to have dry paint or not have enough paint to cover. You can barely touch your paper or your canvas with your brush. And if you have a lot of paint, you have a little bit more control. I know that sounds weird. I actually like to paint with a bigger brush also. Now I'm using a little bit of orange mixed in with my yellow to add a little bit more variety. I think the orange is going to really make it pop, so it's not just one dimensional with the ochre and the light yellow. I'm going to speed this part up where I'm just adding some extra details and different tones of yellow to the petals. Remember to take your time when you're painting. Even though this is sped up, you do want to stop and let it dry for a little while and then add those colors on top. If you try to paint on top of something that's a little bit tacky or sticky, you can end up pulling the paint off and then you'll have this weird little hole. So let things dry and make sure to layer and take your time. Now I'm going to start adding in the background in a second. I am mixing my blues together with white, and I am just going to go around the petals with kind of a nice sharp brush so that I can sharpen those edges a little bit. And I'm varying my background. I'm not making it all one solid color. I'm kind of making it look impressionistic, so I'm not mixing it too much. I don't worry if some parts are darker or lighter. I just want to see those brush strokes and I want it to be interesting. And I am just about done. I'm going to take my tape off and then I'm going to trim the edges and let it dry completely. I hope you enjoyed painting with me today. Please consider subscribing if you want more tutorials. I love teaching these, they're really fun. And let me know if you enjoyed painting the sunflower and if you finished it. Have a great day.